Imagine a map of an entire empire where the rivers don't run with water, but with tons of shimmering, liquid silver, toxic mercury kept in a perpetual mechanical flow. For over 2 millennia, the burial chamber of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang, has sat undisturbed beneath a man-made mountain, guarded by legends of automatic crossbows and a literal atmosphere of poison. Despite possessing the world's most advanced technology, the Chinese government refuses to break the seal. Is it the fear of ancient booby traps, or the terrifying realization that once the air hits the emperor's secrets, they will vanish forever like a ghost in the wind? In 246 BC, a 13-year-old boy inherited a kingdom. That alone is not remarkable in human history. Boys have inherited kingdoms before and since. What made this one different was the particular fire behind his eyes, and the decision, made somewhere in that young and ruthless mind, that he would not merely rule his world. He would conquer it. Then he would refuse to leave it. His name was Zheng, and within 25 years he had swallowed 6 rival kingdoms and stitched them into one country for the very first time. He renamed himself Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor, a title he invented specifically because nothing existing could contain what he believed himself to be. He standardized the written language, the currency, the axle widths of every cart so they would all fit the same roads. He built the early spine of what would become the Great Wall. He was, by almost any measure, the man who made China. And then, as powerful men often do, he became obsessed with not dying. He dispatched ships across the Eastern Sea in search of mythical islands where immortality supposedly grew like fruit. He consumed mercury-laced elixirs that his court alchemists promised would grant him eternal life. Potions that almost certainly accelerated his death instead, a bitter irony the universe rarely passes up. But even as he chased immortality above ground, he was building something below it. Something so vast, so elaborate, and so strange that 2,000 years later, we are still not sure we fully understand what it is. Outside the city of Xi'an in Shaanxi province, there is a hill that rises about 76 meters above the flat plain. To a passing traveler, it looks like a perfectly ordinary piece of Chinese countryside. A little rounder than most hills, perhaps a little too symmetrical, but unremarkable enough that for roughly 1,000 years, the local farmers plowed around it without knowing what lay beneath. It is not a hill. It is the largest burial mound ever built in the history of human civilization. Beneath that soil lies a complex of chambers and tunnels that ancient records claim took 700,000 workers over 38 years to complete. Workers who, according to some historical accounts, were sealed inside when the construction was finished, so that the secrets of the tomb's layout could never be disclosed. We found the first clue about what lay beneath in 1974, and we found it the way so many of history's greatest discoveries are made, by total accident. A group of farmers were digging a well during a drought. Their shovels hit something hard. They pulled up a ceramic head, then a torso, then an arm, and stumbled backward from what must have felt like cracking open a nightmare. They had found the Terracotta Army, 8,000 life-sized clay soldiers, each with a distinct face, each standing in precise military formation, each placed there to guard their emperor in whatever came after death. It was one of the most extraordinary archaeological discoveries in the history of the world. And here is the crucial thing to understand. The Terracotta Army is not the tomb. It is just the garage. Sima Qian was a historian who lived about a century after Qin Shi Huang died. He was not a man given to fantasy. He was meticulous, methodical, the kind of man who interviewed sources and cross-referenced accounts. In his great work, the Shiji, the Records of the Grand Historian, he described the emperor's tomb in language that reads, even in translation, like something from a fever dream. He wrote that the burial chamber contained a scale model of the entire empire. The palaces, the towers, the fields, the administrative regions, all recreated in miniature beneath the earth. And running through this subterranean world, following the exact geography of China's real rivers, were the Yangtze and the Yellow River, reproduced in flowing mercury. Hundreds of tons of it, kept in perpetual motion by some mechanical system the emperor's engineers had devised. Above this toxic landscape, the ceiling of the chamber was inlaid with pearls and precious stones to represent the constellations. The night sky below the earth. The world above, recreated underground. For a long time, historians read this and thought, of course, it's mythology. It's the kind of thing people say about powerful men after they die, the accretion of legend onto fact. But then the soil samples came back. Modern geochemical testing of the soil directly above the burial mound has revealed mercury concentrations up to 280 times higher than the surrounding land. The contamination follows a precise geographic pattern, higher in areas that would correspond, based on the layout of the complex, to where Sima Qian said the rivers would be. The rivers of Mercury are real. Sima Qian also wrote something else about the tomb, something that any archaeologist who has ever considered entering it has had to reckon with directly. He wrote that the builders installed automatic crossbows throughout the passage systems, spring-loaded mechanisms designed to fire at anything that disturbed them. This sounds again like legend, but Chinese engineers were building crossbows with sophisticated trigger mechanisms long before the rest of the world had anything comparable. And recent excavation of the outer sections of the complex, areas archaeologists have been willing to probe, have already revealed evidence of sophisticated mechanical traps in the surrounding pits. The technology for what Sima Qian described absolutely existed. So the picture taking shape is this. Beneath a hill in Shaanxi province, there is a sealed chamber containing somewhere between 100 and 1,500 tons of liquid mercury. Scientists disagree on the exact amount, but everyone agrees it is a catastrophic quantity. The air inside, after 2,200 years of that mercury volatilizing in a sealed space, would be lethal within seconds of exposure. And the tunnels leading there may still contain functional arrow-firing machines that have been waiting, in the dark, for someone to open the door. Even if you solved every one of those problems, you would still face the worst one of all. In 1974, the farmers who found the Terracotta Army pulled their soldiers out of the earth and into daylight. Thousands of the figures had been painted in vivid colors: crimson armor, green tunics, flesh-toned faces. Archaeologists have found traces of those pigments in the soil, evidence of what the army once looked like in its full, brilliant detail. But the paint didn't survive the excavation. Within minutes of exposure to air after 2,000 years of sealed darkness, the lacquer base beneath the pigment curled and flaked, and the colors vanished. Photographs taken at the moment of excavation show the fading happening in real time, a time-lapse of loss compressed into a single afternoon. Today, the soldiers that tourists see are gray. They were never meant to be gray, and there is nothing to be done about it now. That mistake haunts every archaeologist who thinks about the burial chamber. Because what is inside that sealed room, if Sima Qian is to be believed, and the mercury evidence suggests that he should be, is not a collection of clay soldiers. It is a complete recreation of a world. Silk, lacquer, organic materials, painted surfaces, wooden structures, possibly texts. Things that have been preserved by the sealed environment for 22 centuries and would survive for exactly as long as it takes the air to reach them. Open it wrong, open it too soon, open it without a technology that can perfectly preserve what's inside at the moment of opening, and you don't discover history. You watch it die. In 2006, the Chinese government made the decision to halt all excavation of the main burial mound and issue a formal policy. The tomb of Qin Shi Huang will not be opened until the technology exists to preserve what is inside at the moment of discovery. There is no timeline. There is no target date. The policy is simply, not yet. Some archaeologists have called this the most scientifically responsible decision a government has ever made about a major archaeological site. Others have quietly disagreed, arguing that the tomb has survived 2,200 years, and every year that passes without excavation is another year that tomb robbers probe its edges, that seismic activity shifts its contents, that the mercury itself corrodes whatever it touches. The political dimension is impossible to ignore. Qin Shi Huang is a genuinely complicated figure in Chinese national memory. He is simultaneously the man who unified China, a foundational national myth, the reason there is a China to speak of at all, and a tyrant whose cruelty was extraordinary even by the standards of his time. He burned books. He buried scholars alive. He worked hundreds of thousands of people to death on his building projects. What lies inside that tomb might reinforce the legend, or it might shatter it. There may be texts down there, records, documents, accounts of things that tell a story the official version of history has not had to reckon with. Sealed tombs have a way of making uncomfortable revelations. Ground-penetrating radar and geophysical surveys conducted over the last 2 decades have begun to sketch the outlines of what lies below. The main burial chamber appears to be about 30 meters underground, roughly the size of a soccer field. The surrounding complex covers an area of approximately 98 square kilometers. larger than the Forbidden City by a factor of almost 80. Researchers have identified inner and outer walls, underground waterproofing systems designed to prevent flooding, evidence of sophisticated drainage and ventilation structures. And the objects emerging from the outer pits, areas that archaeologists have been willing to excavate, keep revising our understanding upward. Bronze water birds, officials in bureaucratic poses, acrobats, musicians, stone armor made from thousands of individually carved plates. Each new pit suggests that the civilization that built this thing was operating at a level of organizational complexity and artistic refinement that we are still working to fully appreciate. And all of it, everything found so far, is still just the perimeter, the edges, the outer rooms of a house whose central chamber has not yet been entered. There is something genuinely strange about sitting with this story. A man who lived 2,200 years ago was so determined to carry his world with him past death that he built an entire underground country, rivers and all, and then sealed himself inside it. And it worked. He is still there. His world is still there, or some version of it, suspended in the dark beneath a hill that most tourists walk past on their way to look at his army. The Mercury rivers are still flowing, or at least pooling. The stars on the ceiling are still there if Sima Qian was right. Whatever the emperor's body looks like after 2 millennia in that atmosphere, it is there. Whatever texts or records or secrets were deemed important enough to carry into eternity, they are sealed in that room. What the Chinese government is really wrestling with is a question that archaeology almost never gets to ask, because the answer almost never matters. Are we ready? Do we have the skill, the technology, the wisdom to open this thing without destroying what we find? Or do we hand it to the next generation and say, "You do better than we could"? The emperor spent his life believing he could cheat time. As it turns out, the most powerful protection his tomb has ever had is not the Mercury, not the crossbows, not the 76 meters of packed earth above his head. It is the fact that we are not yet sure we deserve to open it. And so for now, the first emperor waits. He is very good at waiting.